Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, April 11, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related questions that you might have about the future though they're in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by that ridge of high pressure. And we know what's usually to the south of the high pressure is receiving some amount of easterly trade wind, and we can see that easterly trade wind coming in from the main development region into the Caribbean, curving to the north into that cold front that we can see as represented by that blue spike line. That's currently affecting sections of Florida and the eastern Gulf of Mexico. We can also see that that cold front that we've been watching stretching all the way from northern sections of North Atlantic all the way down into portions of the northeastern Caribbean has now become stationary, and it has induced a trough into portions of the northeastern Caribbean. And the winds, the easterly wind from the high pressure ridge is definitely stringing out that trough and sending all of those clouds into the northeastern Caribbean, and those clouds definitely have a lot of moisture within them, so they're definitely getting on some amount of rainfall as we speak, more so the leeward islands than the windward islands. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, this map indeed confirms what we just saw on the visible satellite imagery. The low-level clouds pushing from east to west, all courtesy of the high pressure ridge, and we can see the clouds associated with that cold front still bring some amount of overcast skies and isolated shower activity, even some thunderstorms, into sections of the eastern United States, sections of Florida, soon to be the Bahamas, western Cuba, and sections of Central America, including Mexico, Belize, as well as even sections of El Salvador and Honduras. We can also see those low-level patches of clouds definitely bringing that overcast skies and rainfall into portions of the leeward islands. So sections of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, sections of Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica might have gotten some amount of overcast skies and isolated shower activity today, even up to this hour. And if we take a look at what was predicted for today's forecast across Jamaica, so we'll be back to the rest of the Caribbean later on, we can see that it was indeed forecasted that we would have received some rainfall across eastern parishes in Jamaica on Thursday morning, also affecting sections of some northern and western parishes during the afternoon. And just for your information, we know northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes such as Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, while eastern parishes, I know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, so Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. While western parishes, I know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, so St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. And what ended up happening? Although we didn't post what happened in the morning, we did see that we had some amount of clouds coming in from the east-southeast, which definitely brought some amount of isolated shower activity, especially across sections of eastern St. Thomas and eastern Portland. And then during the afternoon now, the visible satellite images were posted on our Twitter page, not only our Twitter page, but our Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook page. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make some posts over those pages that are not made here on our YouTube platform. So it's on Twitter at Weather Jamaica, on our Instagram at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok at Weather Jamaica, and on Facebook at Weather Jamaica 876. And we saw the visible close-up satellite images from 2:45 p.m. bring some amount of overcast skies because of these clouds right there, definitely building just like what was predicted. The east-southeast to the flow brought those clouds into sections of some northern parishes. Those clouds builded from cumulus clouds, into some amount of rain clouds, and not necessarily cumulonimbus clouds at all. No high cold cloud tops being blown off here, but definitely some amount of rainfall, rain clouds right there. So definitely sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, St. James, Hanover might have gotten in on the action. And if we take a look at the latest visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, this indeed confirms where we saw the rainfall. So sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, section of St. James, Hanover, and even Westmoreland got in on the action. And even sections of Clarendon and southern Manchester might have gotten in on some amount of rainfall coming in from a nice to squall line cloud from the east-southeast. If we take a look at the latest infrared satellite images of Jamaica, considering that it's nighttime now, we can see that we have some amount of clouds right there still across sections of St. Anne, maybe bringing an isolated shower or two, and we can also see those clouds off to the west of the island, and we can see the rainfall associated with those clouds right there. So we know the rainfall on the Cuban Doppler radar images is represented by the blues and the well, not the blues, the greens and the yellows. The greens represent light to moderate rainfall, the yellows represent some amount of heavy rainfall, and we see all of that definitely off to the west of the island. So that indeed confirms that we had some amount of rainfall today. And I know you might be seeing some colors across the land right now, those yellows, greens, reds. That's not rain at all, that's ground clutter, so don't be fooled by what this map is showing at all. Either way, the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology's accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours confirms the rainfall across sections of northern Jamaica. So we see that rainfall that affected eastern Jamaica in the morning, and that rainfall that affected sections of northern Jamaica during the afternoon. We know this map is not 100% accurate, but it does indeed paint a picture that yes, we had some amount of rainfall across northern Jamaica and eastern Jamaica just as predicted, as opposed to southern Jamaica, which was very dry. As relates to the temperatures right now, we can tell we're 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 3 a.m. on Friday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. This map from the GFS is showing 18th on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Friday. And as relates to the temperature forecast across Jamaica, we see Jamaica embedded in some orange colors that we can see by the key on the right, represent up to 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. I know the normal temperatures for the month of April across Jamaica are about 88 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 88 degrees Fahrenheit is almost the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So I guess we could say that considering these orange colors, we're going to be receiving anywhere from 30 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Friday. As relates to the dry air map, Jamaica is still being plagued by a lot of dry air, as we can see by those yellows and those oranges that are surrounding the island, and we see all of that right there on the key on the bottom. But we're indeed glad that we're not getting in on that very dry air represented by those darker shades of reds and whites within those reds, like what we're seeing right there off the coast of Africa. As relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Friday, we see that Jamaica should be in the clear for that time, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be right there across sections of Northern and South America. Not to mention right there where we see that vigorous plume represented by those darker shades of brown right there closer to Africa. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see more so in the way of blues surrounding the island of Jamaica for tomorrow by both the Euro and the GFS models, and the key on the bottom right show that these blues are representative of anywhere from 0.5 meter to 1.5 meter wave height, and that's because the winds are going to be coming in from the east tomorrow, and we see those bluish greens and those brighter shades of greens that represent anywhere from 10 to 15 to even 20 knots, especially on this far southern side of the island. And we also see that the air is going to be piling up across sections of some southwestern parishes. Look at those darker shades of blues. So who knows, maybe sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, maybe Manchester might get in on some amount of isolated afternoon rainfall. And the actual 1 hour total rainfall maps confirm this. The Euro right here is showing 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, and we see the blues that represent rainfall across sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester. The GFS, something similar, more so right there on the border of Manchester and St. Elizabeth is where the afternoon isolated shower might be. So 3 p.m. showers for southwestern Jamaica is what is being forecasted. And we're indeed grateful. We're in the month of April. Well, we're still in our dry season, but at least we know that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica tomorrow. Not necessarily everywhere, but we're indeed grateful. The farmers in St. Elizabeth and Manchester are going to be happy with the rainfall. We usually receive up to 114 millimeters of rainfall during the month of April. That's almost 5 inches of rainfall. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of a dent in the drought that we're currently experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have those clouds stringing along associated with the trough, bringing some amount of overcast skies and isolated showers to sections of Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, sections of the US and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, sections of St. Martin, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica definitely got on some of the action today, and we can see that cold front that affected portions of the eastern United States now pushing off towards the east, still affecting sections of Florida, the Bahamas is next, sections of western Cuba getting in on the action, not to mention sections of Central America, so Mexico, maybe Belize, sections of El Salvador, Honduras getting in on the action as well. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean to confirm this, we can actually see that even right now they're still being plagued with some amount of rainfall. This image as of 8:05 p.m. The time is now 8:11 p.m. So they're still getting in on some amount of rainfall. Eastern Puerto Rico, sections of the US Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, sections of St. John's, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe getting in on the action as well. And that's been the case all day today. A lot of hit or miss showers, a lot of showers trailing over the same areas, some areas getting more rain than others. Either way, I'm sure the people who live in those islands or live on those islands are very grateful for the rainfall. As relates to the Barbados radar highlighting what's happening on the Windward Island side of the Eastern Caribbean, not much, not as robust as what the Leeward Island was showing. Maybe some isolated shower right there after the east-northeast of Barbados. Let's see if it can make it into Barbados later on tonight. Some isolated showers affecting sections of northern St. Lucia. And that's basically it for the rainfall. Maybe some rainfall might spill into sections of Tobago later on tonight as well. As relates to the weather via Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall coming into sections of French Guiana, and we can also see that line of showers associated with the cold front right there across sections of Florida, western Cuba, and sections of Central America. As relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we know this map shows blues and greens that represent below normal temperatures, and we see that's in the forecast for 18th on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Friday, for sections of central and eastern United States, sections of Central America, so definitely eastern Mexico, sections of Central America including Guatemala, Belize, and you can also see the above normal temperatures that's represented by those yellows and oranges and reds. That should be plaguing sections of northern South America, majority of the Caribbean into portions of southern Florida and the Bahamas. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Friday, majority of the Caribbean should be in the clear, but we do see some slight shades of brown to represent some Saharan dust right there across the southern Windward Islands, sections of northern South America, but we're indeed grateful that we're not getting on that very vigorous plume as represented by those darker shades of browns right there closer to Africa. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we do see that both the Euro and the GFS are showing a mixture of blues and purples that are representative of anywhere from 0.5 meter wave heights all the way up to 2 meter wave heights, and we see those 2 meter wave heights definitely plaguing sections of the eastern Caribbean islands, so northern Puerto Rico, eastern portions of majority of these islands definitely getting in on those high wave heights. And we know that area to the north of Panama and Colombia as usual is a hotspot for high wave heights as well, and that's because the winds have a lot to do with it. As we can see here, the winds for the most part across the Caribbean averaging anywhere from 10 to 20 knots in the greens, averaging 25 knots in the yellows, so definitely right there after the north of Colombia, it makes sense that the wave heights are high there, not to mention that area across portions of the eastern Caribbean, especially the Leeward Islands where the trough is located. This relates to the rainfall forecast for tomorrow. As we know, the whites and the greys are representative of little to no rain, but as we head into some greens, darker shades of greens, yellows, oranges and reds, that's the more rainfall totals adding up, as we can see by the key on the right. And these maps from the Euro and the GFS are definitely showing the next 24 hours from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday, and it does indeed paint a picture that sections of Central America, Belize, sections of Guatemala, Honduras will be getting in on some of the action. If they're not already getting that rainfall, it's definitely coming within the next 24 hours. sections of the northern Bahamas, not to mention section of the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, those areas that we mentioned already, so the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica, and we see that both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus with this, so there's there's a high probability of it actually happening. Skipping southward now, we can see summer rainfall definitely going to be affecting sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana as usual. Even sections of maybe southeastern Trinidad might get under action, southern Venezuela, sections of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica as usual. I know that when both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chance of actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.